Good evening, members. I declare the meeting of the City Finance and Governance Committee open and advise that we have quorum and that this meeting will be recorded and streamed live to the City of Adelaide website. Please note that an audio and visual recording is being taken of this meeting. This means that your presence at and any contribution you make to the meeting may be collected, used, disclosed or published publicly by the Council, including transferring outside of Australia. Agenda item number 1, acknowledgement of country. The City of Adelaide acknowledges the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains as the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting here today. We acknowledge and honour their spiritual and cultural stewardship of this country and recognise their deep and enduring relationship with its lands, waters, the sky and all living things. We pay our respects to Kaurna elders past and present and recognise the important role of emerging leaders in sustaining and strengthening culture. Members, we have leaves of absence from Councillor Giles and also Councillor Martin. Councillor Abrahimzadeh also just mentioned that he was ducking out, so I believe he will be an apology for this meeting. Now move on to the minutes. We have minutes that we need to confirm for meetings held on the 21st and 28th of April. I have a mover, Councillor Marr. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Lord Mayor. Any comments? There being none, I'll put those to the vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, members. We'll move on now to agenda item number 4, declaration of conflicts of interest. Are there any, members? There be no declarations of conflict of interest. We have no deputations or workshops, which takes us straight to agenda item 7.1. I'll ask Mrs. Spitalis to introduce the item and then shortly thereafter, in fact, Mr. Morris and Mr. Ratch, if you'd like to come down and join us while Mrs. Spitalis is introducing the paper.
Thank you. Through the Chair. This report presents the Quarter 3 budget review for 25-26. Some key points I'd just like to make is that it is projecting and maintaining the year-end budget position, notwithstanding the favourable year-to-date position, but they are largely driven by timing differences at this point of time in the year. We have incurred some additional costs, but these were able to be offset by favourable revenue movements, $1 million of which was a grant, which is for a capital project, but because of accounting standards, we have to recognise that as operating. And we've also got some additional net parking revenue in the forecast or the budget, proposed budget as well. Some of the increased costs are associated with some strategic projects, which you'll find at paragraph 5.2. The capital spend year to date is greater than budget at this point in time, noting a reduction in the year-end program projection, again largely through the retiming of 13 projects. As a result, the projected year-end debt is expected to decrease, noting as at 31 March we had no debt and in fact we had net cash of $10.1 million in the bank. As the Chair has advised, we'll seek an update from AIDA before moving to questions by councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Spitalis. Thank you, Mrs. Spitalis. Welcome Mr. Morris and Mr. Ratch to provide a briefing on the happenings at AIDA. Thank you.
Is it this one?
There we go, you're on.
It's the new one. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. In Q3, Adelaide benefited from significant event activity between January and March, with Tour Down Under, the Adelaide Fringe, WOME Adelaide and Adelaide Festival, supported through our major events and festival sponsorship program. Over that period, there were more than 545,000 hotel room bookings in the city, a lift of 4% on the same quarter in the previous year. Hotel revenue exceeded $120 million, up 11% on the same quarter last year. There is strong activity in the visitor economy space. Digital engagement through Experience ADL increased significantly, generating 399,000 website views and delivering 33,000 direct leads to city tourism operators. As an aside, last week, AIDA participated in the Australian Tourism Exchange in Adelaide, attended by 2,700 buyers and exhibitors. From all reports, there was a very high level of inquiry and strong interest in Adelaide, which augurs well for future bookings. Rundle Mall. Foot traffic in Rundle Mall has been solid during that period. Larger scale activations in Rundle Mall relating to festival season, Colours of Asia and Lunar New Year were delivered. The introduction of a Thursday night activation as part of Colours of Asia delivered strong uplift, with approximately 45,000 visitors attending between 6 p.m. and midnight. This demonstrates the potential value of extending programmed activity into the evening in Rundle Mall, something that we're working on and hope that we might see Thursday night become something in Rundle Mall. From a broader economic perspective, we're continuing to monitor the effect of the cost of living pressures, inflation, increased interest rates, and the impact of the conflict in the Middle East on consumer behaviour and spending in the city. And that's something that, whilst it probably wasn't as prevalent in the January to March quarter, it's something that we're very much onto now because we're starting to see some things emerge. So we're very much onto it. This is a quick one tonight. I'd also like to thank the elected members for the opportunity to discuss AIDA's budget at our recent CEO briefing. And of course, we look forward to continuing those conversations with you all. That's it from me.
Thank you, Mr Morris. Open the floor to questions. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you for that stellar those numbers are amazing, and they're very supported by Business Events Adelaide, the board I sit on.
Yes.
I'm interested in the issues emerging that you are identifying and what you see as impact, negative, and obviously negative impact to the city.
I mean, January to March is the sugar hit that we have. We all know that. The impacts of this whole Middle East crisis is just starting to play through. Greg is updating us weekly now on numbers, and in particular spend, footfall, hotel room bookings, all those metrics that give us an idea as to where we're going. And just the last week or two, we've just started to note some of those things going backwards, which we expect because we're in a tough time. Where we go from there, I'm not quite sure at this stage. That's why we're monitoring it. Are we talking recessions? Are we talking a world recession? Are we going to see Australia go into something like that? We've got to be prepared for that. So it's constant monitoring. It's looking at those numbers and responding to that.
Just a follow-up question. Has AIDA been looking at like a contingency plan moving forward on what could be impacted and how scalable that budget would be if whatever happens?
Yes, through the chair. We have come up with some thoughts and ideas on what might constitute an appropriate response for various scenarios. We haven't costed those. It really depends on, is it delay in consumer behaviour but they're still spending? Is it a collapse in consumer behaviour now? Is it a change in how people are working, continuing to work from home or coming into the city? So really it depends on, rather than saying, there's a lot of change and there is a lot of challenges that potentially are out there, we actually need to focus in on when we see the evidence about what we can do about that particular matter, as opposed to it being an omnibus sort of approach.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Other questions? Lord Mayor.
Was there not also, Greg, some data from transport? That's bus usage up and car traffic numbers, parking. I thought they were quite interesting figures.
So at the moment we're seeing public transport boardings and tap-ons up on the same period last year. And from our parking operations within council, we're not seeing a reduction in car usage into the city at this stage.
So does that imply that overall numbers are up then? There's more tap-ons and more people parking, presumably saying there are more people in general coming to the city?
The numbers are down a little bit because it might just be rather than someone coming in 5 days a week, they might be coming in 3 days a week. So overall, past the foot traffic numbers are past the counters foot traffic numbers are down, particularly in the main office area and in the main commuter corridors from the train station into the city. Within the precincts and the main streets generally, but not in all cases, visitor numbers are up slightly.
Thank you. Councillor Freeman?
I've just got two questions. So first of all, the business growth, business support allocation. So that looks like there's about a $50,000 reduction from Q2 to Q3. So I'm not sure if you summarised that before. What's the reason for that reduction?
Mr. Ratch, looks like that's one for you.
So page 48.
48, I believe, Councillor Freeman said. Is that right? Councillor Freeman, 48?
48.
They
48.
have correspond to the same thing.
So we're
Oh, sorry, not on that document. No.
Just confirming the page number here.
So I don't have a full agenda in front of me, but I can bring it up. Perhaps we can go to your next question, and I'll...
Sure, and I'm just checking I'm in the actual right agenda item. But yeah, the second question was just touching on what you mentioned earlier about nighttime economy on Thursdays. And just to give a bit of an anecdote, I know this is a question, but I was a bit horrified last week to notice that the Gosname tent, which I'm sure everyone in this council is very familiar with, is no longer there on Fridays, it's there on Thursdays, and I think it's very representative that things are shifting from Fridays to the Thursdays. So I guess I just wanted to ask, how is that Thursday nighttime economy being supported now? And have you made adjustments in this Q3 review to nourish that a bit more, or is that something we need to talk more about as a council?
in terms of specific Thursday night economy, we are looking increasingly to promote what's happening during the week through Experience Adelaide. As Mr. Mara said, when there are activations on Thursday in the mall in the evening, that increases foot traffic through that particular area. When we talk to particularly our hospitality people, Thursday and Friday still can be a bit fluid, particularly Friday in terms of demand, and that makes it difficult in terms of placing forward orders for things like lunches and those sort of things. Thursday seems to be holding up a bit better in terms of consistency of activity within the city, and I think that there are opportunities to increase the flow of that through the day into the evening. In terms of the decrease in the business growth, business support, you'll note a corresponding increase in data and insights. There was a salary component that had been costed against business growth, business support. That was funding for a data role, and that is now being reflected in the correct place within the budget.
Before we move on from Councillor Freeman, did we manage to find the page number of the data?
It was page 48.
It is 48.
It's page 48 of the agenda, page 39 of attachment A.
And did we have a further question on that, or are we happy with that for Councillor Freeman? That's a no. We'll move on. So I've got Councillor Davis, Councillor Kouros and Councillor Marr.
I wonder what role AEDA could play in like strategic property vacancies. I went down High Street a few weeks ago, and down near the pub on the corner near Morfett and Hindley Street, that's been vacant for quite some time, and it's now pretty much in darkness. The other side is the somewhat well lit, and in front of it people had brought their own chairs, and they were clear, in my view, high as a kite. Quite a few of them and drinking underneath the pub. I wonder, are there other strategic properties around the city that, if were occupied, would have a material difference? Because I think that one being vacant and that kind of area becoming less, it starts to become this kind of dark hole that you tell Simba not to go to. So I'm kind of concerned about that growing trend down the end of Hindley.
Spoke about this an hour ago to some folk in here. There's no magic fix down there. Despite all the talks that we've had, there's just no magic fix, because I think there's a bigger education piece with existing landlords.
Yeah.
And I know that's not easy sometimes, but when you look at the makeup of the street at the moment, and I'm talking from King William Street through to Morford Street, we have something like 13 convenience stores,
Yep.
and about 18 massage parlours or thereabouts at ground level, and that's just not helping. That's just not helping the street. In a lot of cases, I'm not sure how to put this, but in a lot of cases, what you find is operators like that come in and are able to pay the rent. Somehow they just can pay the rent. Don't know how that happens. I don't know how you handle that competition amongst those users, but to get serious about that, and of course you can start introducing Renew Adelaide's, and Renew Adelaide had a really good go at it several years ago. Probably needs more now, but I think it really needs to come down to changing our planning laws to outlaw some of these uses that are becoming a real blight on places like Hindley Street.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Councillor Kouros, then Councillor Marr.
I'm just wondering, events are great. We love our events. But when we have big major events in the city, the south part of the city and the north part of the city suffer the consequences from that. When you speak to these, like Adelaide Festival, Fringe, all that, do you have discussions about more of a broader a program that involves the whole of the city? And if you do, does it come down to money that they need extra, or is it, what's discussions that you have?
We do talk about citywide dispersal as one of the things that we look at through the program, and that sometimes does flow through to individual operators who run broader events. Some events are very, very firmly embedded in a part of the city. So, say for example, Equestrian Festival in Victoria Park, those sort of spillovers are much more difficult to achieve. Often it comes down to venue, and it comes down to critical mass, and it comes down to scale, and ultimately it comes down to, do they think they can turn a dollar from those locations? But it's something that we do encourage them to look at, and we have worked with some operators to locate venues and places where they can do parts of their events that aren't necessarily located in their main areas.
But when I have discussions, let's talk about the Fringe and Adelaide Festival. There are festivals that you could probably do a bit more broader rather than equestrian events. When I chat with them about it, they tell me that they have ideas, but they don't have they need more funds to do so. Do they approach you on that level in regards to, hey, we can activate something on Hutt Street, but and we can connect it to to the Fringe, but we need X amount of dollars to do so?
We allocate funds through a competitive process, and when we did the last round of funding, which those events applied for, they did request some additional funds. I can't remember what specifically that was for, because it's about 14 months ago since that occurred. Ultimately, we've got a fixed budget of funds that we can allocate to events. Giving more money to those events who we already give the most money to will come at the expense of smaller events.
I guess what I'm thinking, Chair, is that I would like to see more of a broader discussion on maybe a strategy in which we can put forward to them in what they can do in activating. We've got Lumina Adelaide, we've got Fringe, we've got Adelaide Festival, and while they might put in, and it's very tedious putting in these extra bids that they need to put in, to cut the red tape and get to more of a strategy in which we can activate the whole of the city rather than just isolating parts and making it difficult for them to put in these applications. Just my thought. And going on to what you said, Steve, about the type of curating, the type of tenancies and what's happening in the city, it's not only happening in the city, it's happening in the north part and the south part with these inviting a different types of characters within the street. So anything that is needed in that part, I would love a report to come in if there's something that we can do and advocate for, or give us a direction, and if your board can do that, and what we can do to help support that. I know it's a planning issue, a legislative issue, and if we can support that in any way, that would be good to know.
Yeah, I mean, just on that, it's a bit like this. Simple legislation change. Don't allow massage parlours to operate at ground level. I mean, it can be that simple, but someone's got to drive it through to stop that from happening.
Thanks to Councillor Couros for flagging that. I think there's a number of us here who'd be very interested in following up on this theme of discussion that's come out that Mr Morris has elaborated on. We'll move on to Councillor Marr, and then Deputy Lord Mayor, I believe you had a further comment, and then I'd like to move on.
Sure, thank you. What can we do to help promote the Thursdays and Fridays? Can you email us a list of goings on every week, say Monday, so we can get some social media going on it? Can we get a better connection there so we can help with that?
We may be, I'll need to take that one on notice, just in terms of understanding how easy it is to pull information and collate it, and obviously there's a resource, there's resource elements in there. So I'll take that one on notice.
Do you have a calendar?
Yeah, we
Experience Adelaide.
Yeah.
We've got
So we have Experience Adelaide, and that draws from the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse, and some operators are very good at updating their events and what's happening on IPW, and others aren't quite so good. So for those who engage with that platform and drive it, it should be relatively easy for us to do. In terms of a holistic one, I think it would be almost impossible.
Because that'd be something like we all want this to work, and if you can give us the back end information, we can then put that out in our public circuits, and we can build on it.
Thank you. So, Mr Ratch has given us the undertaking on that, as well as I think regularly checking out Experience Adelaide. Deputy Lord Mayor, we'll come to you, and then we'll return to the main part of the agenda. Deputy Lord Mayor, did you have anything else to add?
Look, it was just more about the issue about controlling the mix of the types of businesses, and I really want to, I'll take this offline, because I know I'm in conversation with CBS as well about the increase in illegal activities as well, and so it has these ramifications. I think this is a really serious issue, and that we need to, whether it's driven by the council to advocate to the state government, planning codes and regulations. So it is something I think that is a bigger discussion, and it has huge impacts for this city.
I think something's got to happen there, because what we're seeing is these stores close down temporarily for 28 days or 60 days, and then reopen. Now, there ain't too many businesses that can shut down for 28 days or 60 days and reopen.
And that is why they can pay the rents.
Wonderful, thank you. Interesting discussion there. As I mentioned, no number of us are interested in that. So we'll thank Mr Morris and Mr Ratch. So now I'll invite Ms Riley to come down and provide us with an update on ACMA, and then we will look to move things along, so we're keen to wrap up this meeting by 7:30 in time for IPW. Thank you, Ms Riley. You're flying solo here this evening. Councillor Marr, you...
Just a quick question before we move on to that next item,
Yes.
perhaps to the CEO. Can we maybe have a confidential workshop item put in to discuss that previous thought bubble in a more safer manner?
Through the presiding member, I think the AIDA chair has highlighted some issues of concern at a very high level. I think we would both agree that that needs to be worked up based on an evidence base and a bit more detail. We're dealing with impressions. If we're going to adopt a policy position that will be promulgated by the council, it absolutely will need to be evidence-based because we're talking about planning policy and potentially planning code amendments.
Thank you, CEO. Can I just recap? We do want to move along here. What I'm sensing, there's clearly, sorry, Councillor Harris, there's clearly a mood to have this discussion. Then what we're hearing from the CEO is the team wants to get more information together and then come back to us. Councillor Kouros, you had a brief comment.
Does it need to be in confidence? Because I don't want to do that.
I suspect CEO will advise us on whether it needs to be in confidence or not. CEO is nodding. He will advise us on whether it needs to be in confidence or not. I'm going to suggest we move along. Ms Riley, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Over to you for an update.
Yes, thank you. Our Chair, Theo Maris, could not join us tonight, but I'm pleased to present a high-level summary of our...
Sorry, Lord Mayor and Councillor Kouros. Lord Mayor and Councillor, it's just a bit hard to hear from the front. Thank
Overall, ACMA has experienced solid performance across leasing. We've had steady visitation and continued progress on our market expansion. Starting with leasing, revenue has remained strong and occupancy sits at 98.7% with minimal arrears, and we have secured 7 leases renewals out of our 14 so far. Overall, we are financially ahead of budget, largely due to timing differences, and looking ahead, we're planning an operating deficit of 1.6 million by the end of financial year, driven by the market expansion investment. In terms of visitation, we've seen steady engagement supported by a program of community events, just like Rundle Mall, including Lunar New Year celebrations and our Populist Thursday. I think our events programming provides great opportunities for our traders, profiling of our traders across media channel, and the high level of engagement we get shows that the market remains highly relevant as a community, cultural and educational hub. A key milestone for us this quarter was receiving support from the Minister for Small Businesses with a one-off exemption to the Retail and Commercial Leases Act. That exemptions enabled ACMA to implement new trading hours, which will take place when the expansion opens, and that's a major step forward, meeting customers' expectations, including Sunday trade. In terms of the market expansion, placemaking and operational readiness is a high focus for us now, and it goes from bins to murals to loading strategy, communication plan, induction systems, wayfinding, etc. We've received development approval for the Grove Street and the Goodger Street facade signage, and that also marks a significant step towards boosting the future visibility of the market. We continue to progress our leasing activities with about 60% of the tenancies either being executed or committed, and we're actively working with tenants towards the fit-out period. ACMA has identified an increased risk for leasing targets and for the delivery phase in the market expansion. What we see and what we hear is that the global economic uncertainty is impacting tenant confidence, but also fit-out costs and potential timings. So we have a CEO briefing scheduled in the coming weeks, and we look forward to giving you an update in confidence about our progresses, our current retail mix, which is looking great, and also those risks and our proposed mitigation strategies. So overall, in summary, our core business is stable. We have meaningful progress towards the market expansion, and we've entered Q4 with the announcement of being ranked 3rd best market in the world, 1st best market in Australia, and that came with an overwhelming support from the community. So we're entering a critical delivery phase, but well positioned.
3rd place, that's well earned. Thank you. Ms Riley, any questions from any members around ACMA? Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you for that. That's great. Did you get any pushback from the traders when the new legislation was actually introduced? Because I understand it was fairly late in the piece before the state election. And I mean, it was great, but I did hear rumblings, and I'm just wondering if that settled down.
I believe a couple of traders. So overall, I would say it was really well received by traders, with a sense of relief that that was done and dusted and a decision was made. We know of a couple of traders who didn't take it with us, but went to the minister for questions, and that went away. So
Overall.
yeah, overall very good.
Yeah, I think through the chair, there's 50 plus traders there, so there's a good chance there's going to be a couple that weren't happy, but overall I think it's a good result for the traders and our customer base.
Minority is always loud.
We knew we had a strong consensus towards the change of trading hours, but the finish time was always a little bit controversial, and also 75% of voting, which was what was required by the Act, was impossible to get.
Wonderful, thank you. Members, any other questions? I can see no hands going up. Thank you, Ms Riley, for joining us. We'll continue on with the meeting. So we'll now, Lord Mayor. Moved by the Lord Mayor, seconded by Councillor Freeman's hand is shot up there. Are you seconding? You have a question? Are you wanting to second? I know that Councillor Snape appears to be wanting to second. Councillor Snape has seconded it. So I'm just going to go back into order now. I'm going to go to the Lord Mayor to speak to it, then I'll offer Councillor Snape, and then I'll come to you, Councillor Freeman. Lord Mayor. You're reserving your right? And reserved again, double reserved. It's with you, Councillor Freeman.
So thank you, Chair. Probably through you to Mr Spitalis. I had a couple of questions for the administration about other parts of the Q3 review. So I guess firstly there are a number of things that have been retimed, and the report does talk about how those retime works will be in the next budget, which at the moment the draft that we've seen does not incorporate those retimed works. So I just want a confirmation that all of those retime works will indeed go into the final budget that we'll see prior to it being adopted by Council.
Yeah, through the chair, I understand you're probably talking about capital projects, which are the only types of expenditure that we can carry forward. We don't carry forward operational expenditure. However, noting that we have already identified some projects that are likely to, their timing is likely to change, that will continue right up until the 30th of June. So what we do is we incorporate as well as we can the latest information into a budget. However, there will always be projects that the timing we won't get exactly right until 30 June. So it's part of the normal process. In Q1, we make the adjustments.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you for clarifying. Lastly, there's a couple of new things in the Q3 report, and I'm really not picking on North Adelaide. It always sounds like I am, but I'm just curious where they came from. So, for example, George Street, we have funded a traffic study of George and Lerman Street, but there's also an allocation for local improvements on George Street as well as Barton Terrace East, which weren't previously funded. And I only ask that because, look, it's not my ward, and there's a lot of issues in Central Ward as well, and I'm trying to understand the strategic approach around which streets do we pick for improvements, and where did these ones come from?
So a question around how the street improvements are being prioritised, noting project in North Ward, Mr Googe. I know you've only just walked in.
What's the point of reference, please?
So the point of reference is page 54. Hang on.
Of the agenda, 45 of the report?
It's, of the attachment, so of the Q3 review pack. Page 44, but page 53 of the agenda. So George Street, localised traffic improvements, plan and design, 100,000.
So, Councillor Freeman, just to clarify, you're seeking clarification as to why that's come up as a priority as part of this review.
Yes, that's right. Was it attached to a
Thank you.
council decision, or was it part of a program of work that I'm not aware of?
101,000.
Mr. Hughes, you leaning towards the microphone there? You are. Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, Councillor. We'd have to go back into the detail of why that project was put forward. It certainly is a project that we would aspire to deliver, and it would align with probably our renewals program of work, and it may be also aligned with ITS, but I would need to confirm that for you.
There's not even an undertaking on that one, Councillor Freeman.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. And look, I'm sure that there's reasons why this is a priority. I suppose I'm just curious as a new councillor. I've got a long list as well. I'd love to chuck some stuff in here, but we can talk about that another time.
Great, thank you, Councillor Freeman. Thank you for those questions. Any other members before we go back to the Lord Mayor? Councillor Freeman. Nearly had the Lord Mayor in there somewhere.
Councillor Ma.
Councillor Ma, looking in the general direction.
Pulling on that same sort of thread, there's quite a few savings here. The operational budget update at page 63 of the pack, 54 of the report. That's good to see, but I was interested in the e-scooter income as to why that's decreased. Are we seeing less people using them? Is this something we want to keep in mind with our new supplier that we're looking at shortly, or?
So the question, why is e-scooter revenue decreased? Have I got that right?
Yeah, have we,
What's
do we
happened
have
with
a reason
e-scooters?
for that? What's happened with the e-scooters?
Through the chair, it's just through annual licence and renewal of e-scooter licences, just to let you know that has been impacted and forecast within the 26-27 budget.
Okay. Otherwise, that page looks good. I'm happy with that one. Are there any other projects that, from a capital perspective, that aren't in here that could have been brought forward that weren't?
Well, through the chair, there are hundreds of projects that the team deals with in any given year, and it is a constant piece of work to continually refine, look at what projects we can deliver, we can't. Those that might be connected, as Mark said, to renewal projects that may bring forward some of our new and upgrade because it makes sense to do them all at the same time. It's a moving piece of work, and the team does its best, I think, to optimise what we can deliver within the budget we've got. But you know, there's hundreds of projects, and it's difficult just to pinpoint one or two in terms of how they're playing out on an annual basis.
Okay. Great, thank you, Councillor Ma. Lord Mayor, back to you to sum up.
Thank you. I just want to say something about the idea that we need an urgent workshop on Hindley Street retail tenancy mix. I'd counsel against that because we've just gone through a PAR, which was to deal with the adult entertainment in the city, and we've had decisions made on that. But the other issue is that even if we were to get another PAR up, those properties have existing use rights and they'll be sitting there for the next 10 years. So it's not urgent. So I don't think we should be urgently having a workshop to deal with something that will make no perceptible difference in the next many years. Summed up.
Thank you. Thank you for summing up, Lord Mayor. Put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those opposed? Declare that carried unanimously. Thank you, members. We'll move on now to agenda item 7.2, which is in relation to the adoption of the caretaker policy. Mr Spitalis, would you like to introduce this one?
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, as per the caretaker training advice from the other night, council must adopt a caretaker policy which effectively governs what a council can and can't do in the lead up to the election in November. The key changes for this have been articulated in paragraph 22, and there are two key considerations being asked tonight, which is around the approval of the Lord Mayor to participate in an anniversary ceremony at the request of a squadron of the RAF, and whether to hold a public meeting of candidates, noting that this is not the candidate briefing session that council runs to give nominated people an understanding of what it actually means to be a councillor.
Thank you, Mr Spitalis. It looks like we have a question from Councillor Kouros.
Sorry, thank you. I'm sorry, I was talking to the Lord Mayor at the time, so I do apologise. Did you say that you didn't add the meet the candidate for council to run in the caretaker, or you did? Sorry, because I was trying to look for it. Sorry. Thank you.
Through the chair, at this stage, the policy does not include a meet the candidates session. It does. We obviously will still carry out, as Mr Spitalis has just said, the candidate briefing session. They're two entirely different offerings. The candidate briefing session explains what it is like and the expectations of being a councillor, whereas the other session enables any candidates to address a public meeting, as I understand it.
But as I understand from the briefing that we had, the workshop that we had last week, the council can choose to run one in their caretaking policy. So is this the opportunity to add that in and adopt that? Because I think that's a really good idea for a council to run a meet the candidate rather than have individual groups that are aligned with other councillors, and it becomes a political football out there when you go to every single meet the candidate forum, and yet it's not. It's they're already made up their mind before you even get there.
Thank you, Councillor Kouros. CEO.
Through the presiding member, Councillor Kouros's comments are exactly correct in terms of the political dimension. The recommendation before the committee tonight is to adopt a public a caretaker policy that does not include a public meeting of candidates as provided by the legislation. If that is the decision of committee and council, the policy needs to incorporate the reasons. They are outlined on page 117 of your agenda pack, and refer to the fact that council's satisfied that a meeting equivalent to a meeting of candidates is to be arranged by another person, body or group within the City of Adelaide. That's been our historical experience. The council has determined that the cost of arranging and holding a meeting or meetings outweighs the benefit, noting that we continue to provide candidate information sessions for intending candidates. That's all laid out on page 117 of the draft policy. Ultimately, it's a matter for committee and council.
Thank you, CEO. Did you have further comments on that, Councillor
Well,
Kouros?
in my view, if a small community group can put on an event, I don't see why a council can put on an event. It's not that costly. I don't see why we can't have one in the north, one in the south, one in central. Obviously, the Lord Mayor, would have to attend to all of them, which she does anyway because they are, or he or she, whatever it is, does anyway because they're always on. The Lord Mayor is going from one end of the city to the other. Of course, area councillors, again, are the ones that will probably attend all of them, but I don't see why we can't run individual ones. We've got a hall here, we've got a town hall that we can quite easily run it. We've got facilities, we've got a community hall in North Adelaide. I don't see how it could be quite costly and difficult to run. So can I do an amendment?
I was about to ask you, you're foreshadowing an amendment. You are. Do you have words for that amendment,
No.
Councillor Kouros?
Because I didn't come prepared, sorry.
Okay.
I guess it will be another point.
So it would be a separate, an additional point, which is, so subject to the inclusion of a council delivered Meet the Candidates Forum.
And I'll leave that enough for how the administration would like that to run. I mean, my view would be you can do them all separately, each ward. So I don't see how that can be a problem when small communities quite easily do it. You don't have to cater for it.
Now, we'll just check the wording here with administration. I have a seconder in Councillor Snape.
subject to the inclusion of a public meeting of candidates. Held and resourced by the council.
Thank you. Are you, is the mover satisfied with those additional words?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Seconder?
To do that?
Yeah, great. Okay, so I have a mover. Would you like to speak to that now, Councillor Couros?
Sorry,
Just
Chair,
while we're setting the wording,
Yeah.
that says a public meeting, but I heard Councillor Couros talk of one per ward.
My understanding was she was suggesting it could be left to administration to work out how many were required. Was that correct, Councillor
I was
Couros?
just leaving it a bit loose so they can
Okay.
work out how to.
I just don't want to get locked into
Okay.
a single meeting if that wasn't your intent based on the phrasing.
So we're suggesting public meeting bracket S bracket,
Yeah.
yep, to allow for plural. Okay.
Subject to a variation to the policy. Yeah. Subject to a variation to the policy.
I'll go back to, thank you.
Include.
Great, thank you, CEO. Thank you, Councillor Marr, for pointing that out. I will go back to the move of the amendment. Councillor Couros?
I think I've just said it all, actually.
Great, thank you. Councillor Snape?
Yeah, look, I'm not strong on this either way. I think it's pretty fair thing. I think the more interaction candidates have with the public is a good thing. Just to Councillor Couros' point, no. From the council's description, this has just be instead of various community groups holding events. I still think various community groups will still hold events, and we can't assume that this would supplant it. And so there could be quite a large selection potentially of events happening. But once again, that's going to be a benefit to the community. I totally get that, so I think that's fair, and I thrive in them. So yeah,
Thank you.
support.
Thank you, Councillor Snape, for that self-endorsement as well. Councillor Davis with you, and then Deputy Lord Mayor.
It's really a question, not to this motion, but
Question.
what about our access to U-Parks and our parking stickers?
So question is, so during the caretaker period, do we continue to have access to
do we have
U-Parks
those back?
and the stickers?
Through the presiding member, the caretaker policy provides that you will not use council resources for the purpose of campaigning. So if you're not using your vehicle with a council decal or your U-Park parking space for campaigning purposes, you'll continue to use them in the performance of your duties as a councillor.
What function as a council, so if you're meeting with a local, with anyone in the city, unless you're attending this meeting, is not everything a council campaign activity? Would it not be clearer for councillors to hand back in their U-Park tickets and also their decals? Because like if I park in a park, I might even pay money, say if it's in a private campaign activity, but then I go over, right, and I break that rule, I'm now using council resources because I didn't get a fine as a result.
I agree.
So I'm sensing from the CEO that this is in our hands. So if you are wanting to make an amendment to the policy, Councillor Davis, you would need to move the amendment. So hang on, we're with Councillor Davis here. We're with Councillor Davis. Members, can we not have a sidebar conversation with Councillor Davis? You're proposing you'd like to move an amendment on this, Councillor Davis?
I think I have to wait for this amendment to go through and then...
This isn't an amendment, this is the substantive motion at the moment. Because
Is
it was
this
never
an
moved.
accepted variation?
Yes. It was never moved. The original was never moved.
Numbers, Henry.
To give up your privileges. You guys don't want to give up your privileges? There you go.
Members, can we not have a... members, come on. Don't want to have a side conversation here.
I'll move it that councillors will return their parking privileges during...
Point of order. Is this not under the Local Government Act?
No. No, it's not.
No, so the advice of the CEO is this is a good question, thank you, Councillor Gabbard. The advice of the CEO is that this is under our policy, and so it's up to us to determine how we approach this. Is that true, CEO?
If I might assist the presiding member.
Thank you.
There is no provision under the Local Government Act for the provision of any facilities to council members. The matter of the benefits and allowances that you received are prescribed by council's allowances, facilities and benefits policy. That's a policy that can be varied by the application of a caretaker policy. Ultimately, the decision to accept or continue to utilise benefits is a matter, during the caretaker period, is a matter for the committee and council.
So Councillor Davis is moving this. You're happy with the wording here, Councillor Davis?
Yeah, and can I just ask a question before I move that as well? In terms of, say, the Lord Mayor has access to a vehicle, if there are events ongoing or things like that that she might attend, or like, does the Lord Mayor have access to that vehicle as well and a driver?
I don't think that vehicle is a parking permit or a decal, just to differentiate. So does the Lord Mayor continue to have access to a vehicle when performing the function?
That amendment?
No, it's not precluded by that amendment. So
No,
the
that's
answer
what,
would be
that's,
yes.
it's a question. Will the Lord Mayor have access to her vehicle during the caretaker policy? Because I'm thinking about adding that to this motion.
CEO.
Because having a private chauffeur during the city. Well, yeah, correct. Why?
So CEO, members, we've got a lot of side conversations happening here. Can we please bring it back? So CEO's advised that this is all subject to our policy, so it is all up to what we want to put in our policy as to what governs this. So my question to you, Councillor Davis, is are you proposing a additional amendment?
Can I propose this, that councillors and Mayor will not use, will not have access to special privileges afforded to councillors such as U-Park, access cards, decals, private vehicle, like say taxi charges, or other benefits.
If I might.
Thank
yes, CEO.
Okay. So, could I suggest? This is we're creating a monster here. It needs to be broken up.
Members, please, can we please, with the CEO's got the microphone, let's leave it the CEO to speak to this, please.
Okay. 1.2, a variation to the policy to include a prohibition for the use of council vehicles, U-Park passes and decals during the caretaker period. And just go back then, U-Park passes. Let me catch up, Councillor. Cab charges and Uber account access. During the caretaker period, I think the rest of it can fall away.
That can go. And just to clarify, this is specifically in relation to campaign activities, or this is in relation to any duties performed by
This is a total prohibition.
This is a total prohibition. Okay. So we have 1.2, Councillor Davis is moving this. So this is a total prohibition of access to council vehicles, U-Park passes and decals, cab charges, Uber account, etc. Do I have, pardon? So I'm just going to confirm before we go any further. Do I have a seconder for this motion?
Okay, we need a comma after access.
So sorry, CEO, we might just pause because I don't see a seconder, in which case we won't be going.
Councillor Noon thinks that this applies to the CEO as well.
No, only because the CEO
Obviously it doesn't,
comes
it's just
under
councillors, yeah.
caretaker policy. I'm just asking.
So let's just, we'll go in our order. So the first thing I wanted to do is clarify whether I had a seconder. After we've dealt with that, I'll clarify your point, Deputy Lord Mayor. Do I have a seconder?
I want to, but I can't.
No, it's a variation, so you can.
I've already seconded the motion.
No, it wasn't a motion.
Can I
There's no second, Chair, we need to move on.
just hang on, Councillor Cavada. I just want to clarify. Thank you for the free advice. Can I please just clarify?
This would have to be taken as an amendment because it's substantially different to the original. So we have an alternative motion.
Yep.
And this would have to be an amendment.
Yep.
Amendment second.
And so Councillor Snow could second this. No, okay. Okay. So as it currently stands, I have no seconder, and so.
No.
I mean, Chair, I'm happy to second it. Hang on, just to clarify though, I have an amendment, so I don't want to lose the opportunity to move an amendment. So if I seconded this for the purpose of debate, would I be unable to move an amendment?
Yes, you wouldn't be able to.
In that
Okay.
case, I don't second it, sorry.
Okay. My sense is that we don't have a seconder for this, members, and so we won't be going ahead with 1.2.
Can I ask a question before we
Councillor Maher.
lose the seconding on this? What exactly about this is different to what's already in the policy? I just don't understand what we're doing here.
Councillor Mars. So, members, please.
A question to the CEO through you.
I actually wanted to go through Deputy Lord Mayor first, but she did have the first question, and then I'll come back to Councillor Maher, and then the CEO's get a response. Deputy Lord Mayor, your question.
I've got a couple of questions actually on this, on the policy. I was surprised last week that our subsidiaries were not actually in the policy, or it did not relate to them. I think it should. Or at least there's an attachment, if what rules may apply to them during the caretaker period. When you actually think about it, they operate as council subsidiaries. They have their own board and operational responsibilities, but they are still closely connected to the council funding, council priorities, council-owned assets, council-appointed boards and public-facing city activity. I actually sent the COO this afternoon
Are you proposing an amendment, Deputy Lord Mayor?
Well,
Just to
yes, I
clarify where we're
am
headed?
actually, because I feel quite strongly that our subsidiaries should be, this should relate to our subsidiaries as well. They should be included in this. I'm not sure if the entire policy should relate to them, but I'm just thinking that they need to actually be involved with this because they do a lot of marketing stuff, they do a lot of promotions, and I just think there's an opportunity that the lines could be blurred.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. The CEO
I haven't
appears to be able
finished,
to assist with this.
Through the presiding member, in considering the application of caretaker policy to council subsidiary, there needs to be a clear distinction between the governing body, that is the board members of the subsidiary, and the staff that support those subsidiaries, noting that all staff of both AIDA and ACMA are employees of the City of Adelaide, not employees of the subsidiary. Therefore, the caretaker provisions provide equally to staff members supporting AIDA and ACMA as they do council. So the matter of the application of caretaker restrictions for board members of our subsidiaries is a matter we'd need to take some advice on, and I'd undertake to do that between now and the council meeting.
Thank you. So we have an undertaking there, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Excellent, thank you very much. I want to just talk to, point number 3. I actually brought this to the Lord Mayor's attention because I actually sit on the Royal Australian Regiment, and it was raised at a board meeting, and It happens every 3 years. It's the freedom of entry is an honour given to the city to a military unit in recognition of their exceptional service to the community. It's one of our oldest surviving traditional
It's under part 3
ceremonies.
of the motion, Councillor
Yeah.
Davis.
Oh, okay.
It's one of our oldest surviving traditional ceremonies dating back to medieval times. It's really important that we actually do this, just in case anyone had any issues with it.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. And now, Councillor Marr, sticking with my order, originally had Councillor Marr and then back to the Lord Mayor.
It was a question, but if Councillor Davis does not have a seconder, then the question lapses.
He did not. The question has lapsed. Lord Mayor.
I wish to declare a conflict of interest in that most of part 1.2 I thought was related to my activities in the caretaker period. I will remain in the room, it's only a general conflict, but I think it's...
1.2 isn't going ahead.
I think it's important, as a personal explanation, I explain to Councillor Davis that had he moved his motion as he wished, it would have been ultra vires, because there is no such thing as a Lord Mayor's chauffeur.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. So, members, will come back now. Are there any other comments on this? The mover was Councillor Kouros. It's been summed up by Councillor Kouros.
No, I'm summing up.
Oh, you are summing up. Can you please... my apologies. Councillor Snape had reserved his right earlier on. Councillor Snape, then
Thank you. Although we are talking about the wider thing, the reason I was willing to support Councillor Davis's amendment is because I think it is hard to judge in the wider policy is the thing that council members shouldn't have access to distinct benefits or advantages that other candidates don't. And once the caretaker period starts, my understanding is the only time, and I think I'm reiterating what Councillor Davis said as well, effectively, the only time you'd be using that stuff legitimately would be on the Tuesday evening to get to the council meeting. And outside of that, if you are travelling around, if you're visiting constituents, businesses, etc., you are using it for campaigning. And basically, what we without that 1.2, and I realise 1.2 has collapsed. Without that 1.2, we're basically relying on a trust system that elected members won't use those things that will take the decal down when they're not doing it on a Tuesday.
It brought to my attention we're deviating from the motion here in terms of the items you covered.
I just never allowed the opportunity to speak on it. Okay, thank you. But I support the rest of the policy and I certainly support both meetings.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts. Councillor Freeman, and then we're going to sum up.
Sorry, Chair, I know you're trying to get through this, but I did flag earlier that I did want to move an amendment to this. And Deputy Lord Mayor has effectively spoken to what I was going to amend. And I appreciate we've accepted an undertaking to bring back to next council meeting a description of how board members are included in this policy, but I would personally be much more comfortable if this was amended to say, subject to a variation to define board members.
Through the presiding member, that might be a dangerous pathway because we'll need some external advice and what you're proposing might in fact be ultra vires.
Okay, sure.
Perhaps the way forward here is that we have an undertaking, and if at the time of the council meeting there is a need for an amendment, it can be moved on the...
Also, point of order, Chair, it's been continuous disruption from that side of the room all meeting. I'd really appreciate
It has been a very
everyone
noisy
one
meeting,
speaker
Councillor
at a
Freeman.
time. Thank you very much.
I'm doing my best to try and keep the noise down. So I'm back to you now, Councillor Kouros, to sum up.
Yes, thank you. And I do agree there will be other committees that we will be putting on, community groups that will be putting on their own Meet the Candidates, and by all means, so they should. I'm not inhibiting that. But I think that I think having a public meeting run by the council might have more people turning up, and that's what we want, is more people being engaged with the process. But also, secondly to that, I don't know what the undertaking was. I missed that bit, maybe because I was talking. But I don't understand why we're coming so hard on our subsidiaries. They actually come in as elected officials and they get paid a minimal amount, and I don't know why, if they already are under the broader policy...
Point of order, Chair, it's not in the motion. Could we please focus on the motion?
If they're already
Thank
under
you,
the
Councillor
broader
Farrell. You did
policy.
leave it to it. I think you are straying from the focus
Well, I
of the
think
motion.
Councillor, I gave the floor to the councillor speaking about an amendment that didn't even go through. So if they don't like what they're hearing, that's not my
We've
problem.
had an undertaking.
But I think
Councillor
that if the
Point of order, Chair.
undertaking,
I think the Speaker would be aware of the answer to her query if she was not talking at the time.
Thank
oh,
you.
probably you're right.
Thank
so
you,
if there is
Councillor.
an undertaking,
We're back with Councillor Curris.
Thank
happy
you.
for
I'm
you
being
to wrap up.
interrupted. Do I get more time?
We're
Because obviously
continuing to
people
go
don't like
here.
what they're
I just
hearing,
encourage
and
you to
I can
continue.
hear that they don't like what they're hearing. We would like people to be engaged with the council, and we want people to be engaged with the council coming to this meeting. And I don't think that I think we should be very careful whether you step onto people that give their time on a minimal amount of money to a board.
Thank you, Councillor Curris. We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those opposed? Declare that carried unanimously. Councillor Kabata did. His hand was up behind his screen. Clearly visible to me. Thank you, Councillor Kabata. Maybe a little bit just above the screen. Thank you, members. We'll move on now to agenda item 7.3, the final agenda item for this CFG meeting, which is in relation to community engagement policy consultation. I'm sensing there's a mover in the room. Councillor Kabata's moved, seconded by the Deputy Lord Mayor. Councillor Kabata, would you like to speak to the motion?
I reserve my right.
Reserve your right, Deputy Lord Mayor?
I'll reserve my right.
Reserve your right. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion?
Summed up.
I was just waiting to see whether I did have anyone. Thank you for your enthusiasm, Councillor Kabata. Councillor Marr?
I would like to see... Oh, never mind, I'll bring it up at council, it's fine.
Okay. There are no other hands going up. Councillor Kabata? Summed up. We put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those opposed? Declare that carried. And members will call the meeting to a close at 7:39 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, good evening members. I'll note that the time is 7:45 p.m. and we do have a quorum, so I declare the meeting of the Infrastructure and Public Works Committee open and advise that this meeting will be recorded and streamed live to the City of Adelaide website. Please note that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being taken. This means that your presence at and any contribution you make to the meeting may be collected, used, disclosed or publicly published by the Council, including transferring outside of Australia. The City of Adelaide acknowledges the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains as the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. We acknowledge and honour their spiritual and cultural stewardship of this country and recognise their deep and enduring relationship with its lands, waters, sky and all living things. We pay our respects to Kaurna elders past and present and recognise the important role of emerging leaders and sustaining and strengthening culture. Now we have a leave of absence for Councillors Giles and Martin, and Councillor Abrahimzadeh has returned, so that's good. Now I'll just seek a confirmation of the minutes. A mover and seconder, Lord Mayor, and yes, thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor, moved and seconded. No debate on that item. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, members. Okay, do we have any conflicts of interest tonight? Councillor Freeman.
Thank you, Chair. Just declaring a general conflict, as Councillor Martin would say, with an abundance of caution for item 7.1. It doesn't specify DIT, which is where I'm employed, but it does talk about the Roads Opening and Closing Act as well as the relevant minister, so I presume that will be facilitated by DIT. So I intend to participate in the discussion and the vote.
Thank you. No others? And you've got the form. Excellent. No others? Okay, we have no deputations this evening. And our next item is a workshop. So I'll ask Mr. Googe, Mark Googe, our Associate Director of Infrastructure, to provide an introduction to this item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. The purpose of the workshop is twofold. We'll be presenting a summary of the community engagement process undertaken on Melbourne Street for the Melbourne Street concept design and the feedback received from that engagement process. We'll also be providing a brief advice received from DIT in relation to the proposed speed limit changes within Melbourne Street. Before I go on, I'd just like to introduce the team: Jane Wilson from URPS and Michelle Arbon and Stephanie Chen from the Infrastructure Delivery team. Next slide, thank you. Thank you. Next slide, please. At its meeting on the 9th of December 2025, Council approved the concept design for Melbourne Street Revitalisation Project and noted that the community engagement would be undertaken on stage 2 of the project concept design, with the summary brought back at this meeting. Council noted as well that construction of stage 1, being the Wombat crossings, would be brought forward to align with grant funding obligations. These works are shortly to commence in June and will be completed in September in line with the amended state government grant. Next slide, thank you. So tonight we'll be asking council members the question: what are council members' views on the feedback received from the community engagement process, and how might it assist in progressing from concept to detailed design? Excellent. The project team have undertaken community engagement in line with Council's Community Engagement Policy 2025. The consultation period of 1 month was between the 25th of February and the 25th of March. During the time, various engagement activities were undertaken, including online survey, business forums, community events, stakeholder meetings, and community-initiated submissions, emails and phone inquiries. We promoted the engagement via the Our Adelaide website, letter drops within the East catchment area of North Adelaide, street signs and posters, and social media platforms. Next slide, thank you. So we've received very good engagement response with over 200 individual engagements, discussions or survey responses received. It was an open and transparent process that provided multiple options for the community to participate,
including face-to-face engagement and a well-responded to survey. I'll now hand over to the team to go into more detail on what we've heard. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. I'm Jane from URPS. I was heavily involved in the engagement for Melbourne Street, so I'm really pleased to share with you tonight the findings of that process. So as Mark mentioned, we had a strong participation rate and a good mix. So we had residents, local businesses, stakeholders and visitors to the precinct. I will say that probably the strongest response was from local residents, and when I get into some of the activities, I'll talk to, I guess, how people came to participate. So we had 66 of survey respondents show as being supportive or very supportive of the concept, which is fantastic. And I guess that was, shared vision to see the street evolve from a car-dominated space into a more people-focused, attractive, vibrant main street. Something else that came out was a cooler street as well. So while we had a good, strong support for the concept design, of course there are some areas where we found feedback which elements of the proposal that could potentially be refined through the next stages of design, and I'll talk to some of those as we move on. So the community really supports greening, pedestrian safety, improved paving, lighting, street furniture, those kind of elements to make the space more cohesive. Also reducing vehicle speed limits through the area, as well as outdoor dining and activation. Some of the key concerns, though, are focused on a loss of on-street car parking, concern that if the speed limit is lowered within the street, whether that would then impact on local streets and cause greater congestion in the area. There were mixed views around flexible curbside spaces, and I'll talk a little bit further about that as we go on. Whether the cycling treatments are adequate and safe in what is a high traffic corridor. Also looking at the bus stop consolidation which is proposed, and whether there's any accessibility impacts for those users. And then there was a broad questioning around impacts on local business during the construction period. I won't go into too much detail here, but we used a variety of engagement tools to gather feedback and provided, options for people to participate. So through the survey that was used, as we said, we received 109 responses to that survey, and there's quite a number of questions because we're wanting to test, key components and key elements of the concept design. So we gathered some demographic information, then we also looked at current and future use of Melbourne Street, so how are people using it now, how would they like to use it in the future, and then we gathered views on the overall concept and then specific design elements, as I say, to test and gather feedback on what was being proposed. So just some key stats, that came out. 2/3 indicated support for the overall concept design. We had mixed views around the flexi zones, 57% supportive, 16% unsupportive, and we had quite divided views from business owners. 72% supported reduced speed limits in the street, and we had very high level of support for greening, no surprise there, and over 50% of respondents were supportive of the proposed cycling treatments, and I will go into those further. Just in terms of the ways that we engaged, so we held community events, so we had some pop-ups on Melbourne Street which people came along to. Really, the people that came intentionally came. We didn't catch a lot of passerby traffic, so it was people that lived in the area and purposefully had seen the engagement promoted and wanted to participate. We held a business forum and we had 14 businesses represented at that forum. We held stakeholder meetings with the North Adelaide Precinct Association and the Bike SA, Bike Adelaide Walking SA. We did offer a meeting with North Adelaide Society, but unfortunately we couldn't make that work, so we provided them other ways that they could participate in the process. We also received then not only the survey responses, but we also received 14 submissions. Some of those were from those advocacy groups. We had 5 submissions from businesses and 5 submissions from residents. So I'll just get into some of the, I guess, the key areas where feedback was a little bit mixed, or we had some lack of support in certain areas. So views on flexible curbside spaces, this kind of emerged as one of the key issues.
Explain what they are.
Yes.
Yeah, happy to do that. So a flexible curbside space is essentially where the existing parking bay is. We're proposing to raise that basically on the same level as footpath, and that area can either be used for outdoor activities or for vehicles to park on there, or you can use it for outdoor dining and activation. Sorry. Yes, very similar. Yeah, correct. Yeah. We have also did a bit of a study with the King William Road, spoken with City of Unley, and sort of understand some of the strengths and weaknesses of the current installation that we'll definitely sort of take into account when we're going to detailed design.
That seems to be the most unpopular treatment in the Southern Hemisphere. People keep talking about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was anxious about that.
No, that's okay. Thank you for the question, Lord Mayor. There is a zone, so it's not all the parking space, or not all the spaces on Melbourne Street. It's a certain section of Melbourne Street, and we did get feedback through this process around King William Road. What the project team have done, and what Steph referred to, was has met with City of Unley and understood some of their challenges to seek learnings from that process, so that there isn't a repeat in the implementation.
Lord Mayor, your microphone, please.
Can you just explain for the ignorant what's good about it? Why we're persisting with something that everyone hates? Can you just explain that simply for me?
Sure. So the flexible curbside zone does provide a few bit of benefits. I guess it allows us to either use it for parking or use it for dining opportunity, and some businesses will actually really benefit from that. From our conversation with City of Unley, they have indicated that their curbside trading has increased significantly since they have installed it. We understand that there were some concerns from people who are using the curbside space that, you know, when they get off the car, it seems to be a little bit too steep. So those are the considerations that we can definitely address during detailed design. But we have also received very positive feedback from the City of Unley that there are some of the business precinct groups that they have spoken to is supportive of it. I think it may be that there are a little bit of noise associated with the accessibility and the safety side of stuff, which is something we can definitely consider during detailed design.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think, Lord Mayor, what you're raising is also was raised by community and some business owners. So what I would say is, and what's on the screen there in terms of levels of support or otherwise, is that we had a real mixed view with business owners. Some, and depending on the business, would depend on their response. I think there was also a number of questions around how you operationalise these spaces. So there was some confusion around, well, does flexible mean that, you know, it can be used as a parking space during the day and for outdoor dining during the evening? From an operational perspective, that wouldn't work. So then there was a concern that I guess all the spaces would be either used for parking or taken away for parking and used for another purpose. So I guess this is the feedback that we have heard through this stage of the process, and I guess as it moves through, then it'll be up to the project team to determine how that feedback is used. Yeah, but I think also, you know, so if you're a cafe or a restaurant, then there was excitement around that ability to use for outdoor dining. If you're a different type of business which relies on a parking space to get into your business, then there was concerns, if I can put it very simply that way. Yeah.
Sorry, just might add to that as well. During the dropping sessions, you see a lot of people sort of walking their dogs or pushing their prams and stuff like that, and they do really value having that outdoor space to sort of have a coffee while they're waiting with the dog and waiting for the kids to finish their LA schools and stuff like that. So that was they were very supportive in that aspect. Yeah.
Thanks. In terms of reduced speed limits, there was strong support for lowering them. The opposition that was received, which is small in comparison to the level of support, focused on concern around congestion, traffic function, and why a change was needed. People kind of pointed out that traffic moves very slowly through the area anyway because of the volume of traffic and whether it was required, so they're asking those kinds of questions. What I will caveat this with is at the time that we went out on consultation, the question that we asked through the survey didn't particularly identify 30 kilometres an hour. It was discussed as part of the in-person sessions, and so we need to be careful with that data whilst people support a lowering the speed limit, we can't say that that's tied to a specific number unless it was called out. So the full report calls out where someone said a particular speed limit that they supported or otherwise. Bus stop consolidation, so there's 2 bus stops, so if I crudely say this being proposed to be turned into 1 bus stop that creates some more space, particularly for one bus stop which is in quite a congested area, so it provides more like curbside space for use, freedom of movement. It also opens up some car parking spaces because of the requirements for lengths of buses.
Can you just explain that? Because I've never heard of anyone saying, I want to consolidate bus stops. It's such a peculiar thing to say, and I catch a bus there. And it's quite a good distance between bus stops because I've walked them. Whatever possesses people, it just seems a bit odd to me. Is this the traders that want to get rid of bus stops? Is that what it is? They don't like the people lurking outside. Because bus users, I think, like bus stops.
Okay, thank you for that, Woman. I'm going to provide a bit more context here. So we basically try to understand the current bus stop spacing, and some of the bus stops are placed a little bit close with each other. We did discuss this matter with DIT because at the end of the day, they are the one who can make decisions on bus stop spacings and the locations of bus stop. We propose to consolidate 2 bus stops into a single bus stop. Reason being, it will locate sort of just outside of the new village hut. It provides people that welcome sense of arrival. It brings up a bit more space for us to put in greening and a bit more footpath space. The feedback we have heard from the community is that they don't feel like it's overly far for them to walk an extra few steps, and the spacing is also compliant with DIT's standards. But no, it wasn't raised by the traders.
Councillor Snow.
Following up from that exact question,
Yeah, sure,
which 2 bus stops are you looking to consolidate?
Street A and Street on top of my head. Yeah.
So just on that, and you can see kind of there was a strong level of support for consolidating bus stops, but at the same time we did also have quite a large neutral response. And to explain the level of neutral, a number of people just thought that they weren't qualified, if you like, to comment on the bus stop consolidation, or they didn't use the service, and so opted out of providing feedback. And then those that were unsupportive of bus stop consolidation did raise those issues around accessibility, so how far people needed to travel in accessing services. In terms of greening, as I said, we had a high level of support for greening initiatives. Small percentage of respondents were unsupportive because they thought they would lose more parking spaces, but very small. In terms of cycling treatments, this is another interesting one. So I would say that overall there's a broad acceptance that Melbourne Street is not wide enough, not designed for safe cycling. So regardless of treatment, that corridor being, there being alternatives that are better to facilitate cycling. The feedback was either supportive of cycling treatments, there was some unsupport for cycling treatments. When we talked to Bike SA and Bike Adelaide, there was an acceptance that it's not a dominant cycling route and that there are better options. They were supportive of the cycling treatments. However, they wanted a lower speed limit to make that whole system work for cycling, recognising that cyclists are still going to use that route.
I've got a question from Councillor Secretary.
Yeah, I've got to admit I was a bit confused when I was reading this part of the papers we received, so slide 14. So it said more than half were supportive of the proposed cycling treatment, which from my reading the designs was only really what there were bike racks and painted areas near the traffic lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the street is not suitable for commute cycling. So we're saying that the support is just for a couple of bike racks and painted areas at the traffic lights.
Yeah. So the concept design doesn't include a dedicated cycling lane, given the width of road, and so yes, we were testing those kind of minor treatments.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
I might ask a follow-up question to that one. Does that also relate to the reduced speed limit? Are they tied into the concepts that people talked about?
So I guess the bike advocacy groups did tie those things together and saw a need to, if those cycling treatments were going to work, then you needed a lower speed limit. And they did call out, we did talk about the 30Ks to make that work. So when we get into speed limit reductions and DIT, that's something to keep in mind as well.
Councillor Freeman, did you have a question?
Oh, it was very similar to what you asked, Chair. I was just wondering whether we consulted on a 40 or a 30K speed limit.
So no number was given in the survey. There was reference to the 30 kilometres an hour in the concept design package, but at that time we didn't have support from DIT for a particular number. So whilst it was talked to broadly, we didn't call it out specifically in the survey. So we need to be careful with, and I guess the report calls that out, as the full report calls that out, in that the feedback was given was, so most people talk to just a general speed limit reduction without a number. Some people did call out a number within their submissions, and so that's what we can, I guess, if we're talking about a 30Ks, then we can use those comments to support or otherwise for that 30Ks. Otherwise, it's a general support for a lower than current.
Yeah. Councillor Davis, question.
Something I'm missing from the report is the breakdown for each of these different categories for resident, not, like living in the area, doesn't live in the area, and then businesses for each of those different. How can we get that data?
Yeah, we can go back and have a look and break that down.
Because my issue with that is like with Hutt Street, there was a massive influx from external people who might never visit Hutt Street.
Yeah.
And we didn't actually get to hear what people who use it or the businesses actually wanted on the street, and then that delayed the project for a significant amount of time until like local petitions.
So I can tell you about 16% of responses were from local businesses, and the majority, I don't have the exact stats and breakdown, but I can tell you that the majority are from the local catchment rather than outside. We had very few from outside the catchment commenting.
Okay, thank you. And is that self-identified?
I don't believe it's in the report broken down. I think we did talk...
Because like someone could just say, I'm a local business owner,
sorry,
and
I think
you have
we did
no...
talk to demographics. Yeah, you're testing my...
Yes, it is self-identified.
Yeah.
So when they fill out the survey, they will say whether I'm a local resident or whether,
Yeah, right, okay.
It is interesting interesting. Can I ask another question about
Sure.
that? Because
Yes, Lord Mayor.
I'm stunned that 60% of the people did not drive to the location. Only, well, 33% drive there, which means that they're coming by bike or on foot. And 50% of those people went every day and walked there. I just thought it was amazing. This is the most...
Yes.
Yes.
Respondents, over
Yeah.
200 people.
I know, I think it's just the most amazing data set.
No, but it's not.
And if you let me finish, I think what's interesting about the data set is it's a really local representative view and users of the street. What we don't get from this, and it's not your fault because you weren't looking at it, is the traffic flow to work out how much is through traffic. Because the through traffic are the people who complain about everything because they can't go quickly. And maybe if there were a lower speed limit, they'd be forced to go through the olive groves and around the ring road into the city rather than coming through what is actually quite an intimate, small street.
And sorry, I found the stats now. So we had 56% from 566 postcode, so North Adelaide, 9% from Adelaide, so 5,000, and then 36% other, but we can break that down further if needed.
Okay, so Adelaide and the 36%.
Councillor Davis, your microphone, if you're going to ask another question. No? All right, please continue.
Okay. In terms of public art, we asked a question around whether people were aware of the current public art, just to get a baseline, and yes, they were, 87% in fact. And then in terms of what they would like going forward, and I guess the broad feedback was they would like, modern, local, also changeable, strong links to community, so making Melbourne Street really its own identity. So all in all, we asked people, to, I guess, rate what their top three choices would be in terms of what they liked about the proposed concept. Yep, increased greening and shade was number one. Many people did comment that Melbourne Street is quite hot and uncomfortable during summer. More outdoor dining and activation, improved pedestrian safety and traffic calming. So those were the top four that fell out.
So after that we went to Department for Infrastructure to look at the reduced speed limit, and it is very supportive of the 40-kilometre speed limit, and also very supportive if we wanted to bring that forward into stage one along with the Wombat Crossing installation. They did not provide in principle support for the 30-kilometre speed of Melbourne Street as part of stage two. However, they did talk about the 30-kilometre speed best suited to other locations. So Jerningham Street, Dunn Street are consistent with the 30-kilometre speed environment.
Councillor Freeman, question?
When you had that discussion, did they divulge on, given we are redesigning this road, why wouldn't this be a road specifically designed to be suitable for a 30k limit? And did they provide comment on why we wouldn't want to discourage through traffic if people are not stopping on Melbourne Street?
Thank you, Councillor Freeman. I might quickly answer that. So we provided a traffic impact statement for DIT to basically ask for the endorsement for 30k per hour. The feedback that was provided to us is that they would like to consider 30k per hour speed limit for environments that are designed for 30k per hour. And the response that we had is that where we're proposing streetscape upgrade in the Flexi Zone region, where we're bringing out the curb to narrow the road corridor, they feel like that section between Jerningham Street and Dunn Street is consistent with that 30k per hour speed limit. However, that's only about 250 metres out of the entire length of Melbourne Street. That's about 1 kilometre. So they feel like their preference is to not change speed limit over a 1 kilometre length of road. So because of that, they suggested that it may be more appropriate to put in a 40k per hour and implement that as part of the Wombat Crossing installation, which is kind of on both sides of Melbourne Street. That allows vehicles to come into Melbourne Street, lower down to 40k and drive 40k for the entire length of Melbourne Street before they exit. So that was where sort of their decision come from. We also did provide, and I think that answers Lord Mayor's questions around, you know, whether or not we considered other commuters who use this Melbourne Street as a through road and how that will affect them if we were to reduce the speed limit down. And that was one of the reasons why DIT wanted to adopt 40k as opposed to 30k, is that they are also concerned that we may not have a more considerate approach for detours for the other vehicles. They felt like if we adopt a 40k per hour, because the current operating speed is around 45, they felt like it would be appropriate to lower to 40, but not anything lower than that. They did also indicate that once the Wombat crossings are in, it will encourage drivers to slow down and it be worth doing as an exercise to understand how vehicle behave post implementation of Wombat crossings. So that's, I guess, something that we would continue to work with DIT on, is after the Wombat crossings are installed, we'll continue to monitor how the drivers behave on Melbourne Street and whether or not lowering the speed limit down further is something worth considering. Yeah.
Councillor Kabata, you have a question.
Thank you, Councillor. I've got to go, but I don't support going down to 40 kilometres an hour. I think it should be 60. I think throughout the whole city as well. I think 40 is too slow. I think 50 is too slow. I feel like 60 is a good speed limit. So just might be I don't support going down to 40 kilometres an hour.
Can I just quickly Can I just quickly flag, in a free-flowing condition, currently the vehicles don't go faster than 45 kilometres per hour.
So it won't matter if it's 60, there's no cars.
And it won't matter if it's 40.
Thank you for your comments. We'll see you later, Councillor Kabata.
Okay, is that, are we saying things as we go?
Would you like a question? Yeah, Councillor Couros? Okay, sure. Mr. Gooch? No? Please continue with the presentation.
So in summary, while we had support for proposed concept design is strong and we've received feedback, we will need to consider the design of the flexible curbside spaces with the information that was provided by the community, but also its safety and practicality, and we'll look at what the other council areas have done. We will need to develop the policies for management of curbside spaces if we do implement this, and how we can make sure that this is economically viable for businesses within the area. We will collaborate with DIT with regards to the reduced speed, so hopefully we can address the 40 kilometres an hour as part of stage 1 of the project, and then see the impacts that we have with the Wombat crossings being implemented. And then what we'll do is we'll engage with businesses throughout the street as we move through with our construction phases and how we will be constructing the street through the first phase of the Wombat crossing, but also in the second phase. With regards to next steps, subject to council members' views, we'd like to incorporate the feedback we've received today and what we've reported on to bring the design up to 70% and then present back to council once we have that detailed design at 70%. And then we will also at the same time be notifying the community of the 40 kilometre speed limit as part of stage 1 with the Wombat crossing. And if I can draw you back to the question at the start, which was what are council members' views on the feedback community engagement process and how it might assist in progressing the concept plan to be a detailed design.
Okay, now we'll take questions. Councillor Couros first, and comments as well if you like.
Thank you. I am a little sceptical about going forward based on this consultation. You've had 200 people respond, and I know that is a very high residential area. It's 4,500 people that live in that catchment there, I believe. And these are major changes, especially with that curbside. And I would need more information on that before we proceed to a 70% design. I understand you've done your best and you can't force people to engage, but I don't want to end up where we ended up on Hutt Street. It was a nightmare. We need to have more people understanding more of the residents, what they want on their street. Now, I had my business there for 5 years. I kind of have an idea, but I know that council likes to operate on data and information and consultation on 200 people. I would not say that that's a success for us to move forward, because I know that people just want better lighting. That wasn't mentioned in any of this here. They're not fussed on the speed limit, whether it's 30 or 40. To be really honest, they just want it to be safe. They want it to be ambient lighting, and I'm a bit concerned about this curbside. The stigma of Kim William Road is really felt through there. A lot of them do shop on Kim William Road and talk about it all the time about how bad it is. It might be great for hospitality businesses, but it's not great for other businesses, and it's not fair and equitable to everybody. I know that they're very, very worried about it spilling over to residential streets. That's one of their major concerns. If you muck up the parking there might be issues with it in residential streets. But we're really lucky because we've got Dunn Street car park that is there. So I don't know if that wayfinder is there at the moment, because a lot of people that come to Melbourne Street don't even know that there is a Dunn Street car park there. I'm just really concerned going forward on this on just 200 people. I just don't think that's enough. And I think before we do a lot more work, I'm at your hands. I don't know what the answer is. I just think that we need more information rather than, just such a small amount of people responding, such a major change to the street. And let me tell you, if you think Hutt Street people are passionate, you have something coming when you touch anything in North Adelaide, because it's more pain than what you've experienced with Hutt Street. And I am really concerned going forward that if we go to a 70% design, that we have incorporated something they don't like, and it becomes more of a nightmare. I mean, that's another thing is, as feedback, they love their heritage in North Adelaide. They would love to see lighting onto the buildings, the heritage buildings that are there. They want their footpath upgraded. They don't like too much to be tampered with, but I understand that we've got to do some sort of change to bring to the street. I'm just a little bit concerned that we're basing everything on 200 people, that's all.
Thank you, Councillor Couros. Now, I'll just have a quick comment from Mr Googe about the next steps, just to make sure that we're all clear of what happens from here.
Yeah, thank you very much. So next steps are obviously to take the community feedback that we've received in conjunction with the feedback we received from you tonight. We'll be working that up and folding that into the concept design to progress that through the detailed design phase. We'll absolutely be coming back to you during that phase, notionally at 70%. So there is opportunity following tonight, following next Tuesday's council meeting, and then through detailed design to further inform and refine the design.
I guess that's the only way we can go forward. I would think we've got to produce something for the people to comment on, and hopefully we get more people responding.
Okay, thank you. Now I've got Councillor Freeman and then Councillor Siebentritt, and just if you could flag if you have a question or a comment or both as well, please.
It's both. So firstly, I echo Councillor Couros's concern that to move ahead with a few questions unanswered, I probably would like to get more information and maybe more participation in the consultation. To start with the flexi zones, to start with, people love to hate on them, and they are very high. As I said before, they're not standard at that height, so normally they're very easy to drive onto. I'm really interested in what the City of Unleigh say about that, and you're doing this study. I'd love to see the outcomes of that study, because I hear from the traders on that street. Business is booming, it's better than ever, there are people everywhere and loving it. It is inconvenient for an individual to park there, but I think it's a price worth paying for really good business and a really great street, but they didn't get it quite right with the detail and the particular cross-section. So I'd love to understand that. I mean, overwhelmingly your survey, and it may only have been 200 people, but most people said they liked the flexi zones. And the number 2 thing that people wanted was outdoor dining, and you've provided that with these flexible spaces. I mean, it provides that adaptability, which is fabulous. My only thought is it's concentrated in this one central section of Melbourne Street rather than, let's say, it's on one side of Melbourne Street and all along that side. I'm not trying to suggest you need to go down another concept design route, but I'm just curious that concentration of flexible spaces in that one spot, maybe there is an alternative to that. I mean, honestly, my view would be I'd love the whole street to be these flexible spaces, because city plan envisages Melbourne Street to be a main street. We're not future-proofing for that. We've only really got opportunity for outdoor dining in that central area rather than along its length. So really, what sort of rezoning and new business can we expect if the street is just designed for people to keep driving along it? The other thing that concerns me a little bit is we consulted on a 30k speed limit, and in response to that we got a lot of support for the cycling treatment proposed, which is just sharing the traffic lane at 30 k's an hour. Now if it's 40, and I can understand why, it is quite different from a road safety perspective. We haven't consulted on that. It is a very narrow street. I personally am okay with having what's proposed, so just bike boxes and sharing the traffic lane. At 40k, you will have motorists behind a cyclist getting very annoyed. That's a road safety risk that we have to manage, but everyone has to share. The other thing that is missing from this pack for me, it talks about these alternative cycling routes. So what's the next street up? Stanley Street, and the other one, McKinnon. This administration needs to actually plan that in parallel. So we need to tell people, yes, it's not on Melbourne Street, but this is where it is. So that's missing. And additionally, sorry, I'm missing, what's the name of the street that goes up the middle? Jerningham. So Jerningham doesn't have bike lanes now, but we're adding bike lanes in this concept design. So that's very inconsistent. That's meant to be a 30k street, but we're adding bike lanes. So I just think we need to have consistency in the infrastructure that we're introducing in this area from a cycling perspective. Last couple of comments, sorry, I'll finish. Pedestrian safety was the number one thing that people wanted, I think, but I don't think we've got consistently raised thresholds at side streets. I think that's a missed opportunity, unless I'm reading the concept wrong. Yeah, it's not consistent. I think inconsistency is a road safety risk as well. If we're going to do raised thresholds, they really should be everywhere. And finally, the support for public art is great to see. We have an allocation in our next budget for public art on Melbourne Street. I'm not sure how that will interact with this Main Street upgrade. Do we wait to deliver that art together with this Main Street upgrade, or do we get on with it now because people really want it? So, go ahead.
Delaying it, I think.
So possibly we delay that to deliver it with the Main Street. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Freeman. Now we've got Councillor Siventry and Councillor Abraham today next. Before we do that, I do need to seek leave for the meeting to go beyond 8:30. All those in favour? All those against? Lord Mayor, did you vote? In favour or against, Lord Mayor? Well, let's do it again. It's seek leave for the meeting to go beyond 8:30, noting the time is 8:28. All those in favour and those against? That is carried. Thank you, Mr. Siventry.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Echo the concerns around curbside flex. I understand Councillor Freeman's observations and feedback around that. I've also spoken to others on King William Road who've, in the hospitality industry, have raised concerns about it. I did want to flag, this builds on this theme around engagement. When I look at the slide, I was immediately drawn to slide 16 to sort of inform my views around this. And I do wonder whether it's a little bit misleading, is too strong a word, but we've got a number of responses there, and it's the number out of 109. And if a bit of quick maths suggests there's actually only one of the options there that gets a majority of support, and all the others have less than 50% support. So I'm not suggesting that's something that can be fixed or addressed now, but as we're looking at some additional engagement along the lines of what's already been discussed in the future, I feel like to make some informed decisions here, it'd be lovely to have some really clear majority positions against some of these treatments, because as it stands at the moment, it seems like all we want is some additional trees, and that's it. Maybe that is all that's required, I'm not sure, but that's what the data's suggesting. So it's just an observation, and I suppose a further adding to the need to look at how we're doing the engagement.
Thank you. And I should apologise. I think I called you Mr. It should be Councillor. My mistake. Sorry. Councillor Abrahimzadeh.
Thank you, Chair. Look, Chair, I'll keep my comments focused on the flexi zone, given that there's been some interest from some council members on that aspect. My experience with flexi zones, and really only experience with flexi zones, was through the City of Adelaide when I was on their advisory committee a few years ago. And the feedback from the traders and the Trader Association, the King William Road Trader Association, was that when they were first put in, there was a lot of confusion by the visitors. So visitors didn't know whether if that was parking, whether if that was footpath, whether if that was outdoor dining, and the committee decided to revise the footpath trading policy that was in place. So that was one of the things that was done there, to try and work out whether if there was anything the council could do to try and I guess decrease that confusion. The other thing was that I guess on King William Road, and this is where location and context matters, on King William Road, when you drive past shops and you come across a small street, without knowing it, if you went down into any of those streets, there would be a small parking allotment behind a group of shops. So you might be driving down King William, you'll go down this small laneway, small street, and you'll come across a small car parking allotment that could accommodate 20 or 30 car parks. Now, visitors, particularly those that weren't from the area, didn't really know that, and so Unley Council, I think, did a bit of a wayfinding exercise. So I guess that's probably something that, if it's not already on our radar, we might want to think about. Sorry? Okay, sorry. So that's what I mean, is that, wayfinding kind of needs to be a priority there, because if it wasn't for wayfinding, I don't know whether if I would even go down the Dunn Street car park. And look, the only other thing that I will say is that I'm not a civil engineer, but in terms of designing those flexi zones, whether if it's possible to do it in such a way that you wouldn't necessarily have such a high curb, whether if you could have like a spoon drain or something. But anyway, I'll leave that for the subject matter experts to do what they need to do. But that's I thought, given the commentary, I'll just share that with the council.
Thank you. Mr. Good, your comment?
If I can just provide response in relation to the Dunn Street car parking signage, it is imminent. It's in construction at the moment. There have been minor delays associated with getting a power meter, Saturn power meter, to that location. We have a target for installation by the end of this financial year.
Excellent news. Thank you. Now, we're all quite quiet on the left. Yes, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yeah, just on the numbers of people that actually participated. I mean, I must admit, I've always believed it's not so much the sample size, it's actually the quality of the sample size. And I've done a lot of market research stuff and everything, and it normally sits between 10 and 20% of the population or the demographic. So I don't know how that stacks up to what Councillor Kouros was talking about with the amount of people in the area versus how many people responded. But what I'm interested in, I mean, I'm looking at, who we heard from. Would you say that there was a well-balanced, participation survey? You could actually get 2,000 people and they're all sort of residents, or so it's not the numbers here so much as the quality of the people that have participated, to get a good cross section.
I think Mark Googe has a comment for you for that question.
Yeah, thank you. If I may, we will pull together some detailed information responding to your query, Deputy Lord Mayor, and Councillor Corris's queries around Councillor Davis's queries as well, around the specifics of who responded, who we heard from, where they originate from or reside, and also the extent of the attempt that we made to capture information from all members of the public and businesses within the area, including the number of properties that were let a drop to.
Because I think that would be really interesting, because that should identify the gaps and where we could actually target, rather than just going out willy-nilly and trying to get more people.
We might take that one as a comment there. Now, this will be the last one because we do need to move on to the next item. So, last question, Councillor Cross.
If we're talking about quality versus quantity, the fact that North Adelaide Society didn't respond, that concerns me. So, if we're just so you know, they're very much a very passionate group, and if it's quality that we're looking for, they would need to respond to that.
Okay, thank you for your comments, everyone. We might call the workshop there and move on to the next agenda item. Thank you, team. The next item is regarding an unnamed public road between Young Street and Eliza Street. Thank you. Moved. We have a seconder, Councillor Davis. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Slape, second by Councillor Davis. Mr. Goode, did you have an introduction, or are you happy for us to proceed? No, it's been moved. You wish to speak? No debate? Any debate from anyone else on this item? No? Summed up. Thank you, Councillor Snape. All those in favour? Councillor Davis? All those in favour? Thank you. That is unanimously passed. Thank you, members. And we'll move on to the next item, which is the Capital Works project update. Mr. Goode, do you wish to speak to this item very briefly?
Yes, thank you. We'll take the report as read. It's pretty self-explanatory. Happy to take any questions you might have. Thank you.
We'll go Councillor Kouros and then Councillor Davis. Councillor Davis, do you have a question? No. Councillor Davis seconding. Moved by Councillor Kouros, second Councillor Davis. Do you wish to speak to the item, Councillor Kouros? Councillor Davis? Anyone else? Councillor Kouros, summed up? Thank you. All those in favour of item 7.2? Passed unanimously. Thank you, members. Next item. I'll pretend I didn't hear that one. The next item is the Public Realm Greening Program. Mr. Goode, do you wish to take questions on this item? Do any members have any questions? No? Councillor Davis?
Are we going to get plans for where all these trees are going to go? So like Carrington Street, for example, there's a large number of trees proposed there, but it's also just bumper to bumper cars. It's it's quite a commercial, small business area with no real off-street parking anywhere else. Are maps going to be produced, or have they been produced? Can we get access to them for where all these trees are going to go? And have estimations been done of how many car parks would be removed as a result?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, absolutely. As we progress designs on a street-by-street basis, where we produce maps or layout plans that show the specific locations of the trees, they are determined as a result of an assessment of the public realm, impacts to parking, elements below the ground as well, subterranean impacts to the likes of stormwater, SAP and Telstra infrastructure. We also run traffic impact statements to determine the level of impact that a tree pit location would have on vehicle movements along a street. At this point in time, those drawings they're working drawings. They are, once finalised to a point that we are comfortable with, they are shared with residents within the street or within the area, and they are communicated, I think, extensively to a point where we have the confidence that we can proceed with the work with the support of people within the area. We don't envisage at this point in time that we would be bringing them back into committee or council on a case-by-case basis.
I'd much prefer to see the entire book of where they're all going to go as soon as possible. How do we get access to them?
the drawings or the designs on a street-by-street basis are delivered, not concurrently as such, but they progress over the course of a year. So we don't finalise design for all locations at one point in time in order to be able to provide that to council for consideration. If we were to bring them in as and when they are ready, we would be bringing in streets several times a month.
Okay, but like say for Carrington Street, like how many car parks are going to be lost on Carrington Street as a result?
I don't have that information specifically. Adrian,
We haven't. So, yeah, thanks for that question. I don't think we haven't done that level of detail yet, but I think Carrington Street.
Well, Councillor Sevenshit says that he's seen them that there will be none.
Just walk past them today. There's trees going in everywhere.
In Carrington Street, so that would be then in footpath only.
I mean, we're talking. Aren't they planned for the future, like 2029? Isn't that what I saw?
So, sorry, just if I finish off that comment, footpath only, so I would imagine no loss of car park.
I mean, yeah, because I'm say looking at. Yeah. Okay. Well, could we have those plans circulated to us as they come?
I think we might have your answer, which is because this is a sequenced project, it's not possible to provide the full book at this point in time.
Yeah, but as and when those plans become available.
Mr. Good, will we be receiving updates as this progresses? CEO.
If I might assist through the chair, can I seek clarification that Councillor Davis is after the detail of the planting program for Carrington Street in 25-26?
Yeah, but also say like Curry Street. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that might be too far out. We might not have planned that. Like, there's 70 trees going on Curry Street. It would be nice to.
Where's your point of reference for that?
That's on page 94 or 30 of the report.
That's well out.
That's right, yeah.
But certainly in terms of your specific question regarding Carrington Street, we can provide advice. Are any of the 28 currently planted, or is that?
Councillor Sebenschitz says they're.
Yeah, I'm asking Mr. Gooch.
I believe they are. I couldn't tell you the exact number.
All right, so we'll provide a plan of what's been planted to date and what's proposed to be planted.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, Councillor Sevenshit, I believe you're going to move an alternative.
I'm going to move an alternative, Chair.
There's lots of hands going up.
I think
you can ask your question after he's moved his alternative.
So I have shared it. I'll wait for it to come up on the screen, and then perhaps I'll just speak to it as it's coming up. So maybe I'll just pause actually too, so we can bring it up on the screen.
We'll just take a moment while we get that one on the screen. Now, just so everyone is on the same page, after this, in terms of questions,
that's fine.
We're going to have the mover and the second to speak, and then I'll take questions from Councillor Freeman, Councillor Kouros, and then I saw Councillor Snape's question.
You're moving it now?
He's already moved it. Once it's on the screen, we'll seek a seconder. Mover and seconder will speak, and then Councillor Freeman, Councillor Kouros. Oh, Councillor Snape's going to second? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So just to speak through this, I think what we have before us, particularly the planting plan, which is an attachment as a significant step forward, refers to St Amor's Diversity Index, which from a TECO perspective is really good to see. That's sort of example of what we see in leading plans like this around Australia. It also means we're planting more resilient forests for the future. We have made reference to the design prize, which is great because the idea of that is to look at ways that we can longer term reduce the cost of planting, which I know is of interest to a number of members. I think the area that I did want to focus on though is that we've got some excellent statistics coming through, but I think there are some further refinements required just to be really clear as to what's our ability to meet our future canopy cover targets informed by the number of plantable opportunities. So there's some excellent data we've now got in there, just needs a little bit more refinement. So the purpose of this amendment is to not take away from what we already have, but it's essentially is to agree to proceed with the planning program proposed for FY27 that's in the plan. And the second part there gives us an opportunity to further refine some of those canopy covered targets. So it's considered to be relatively minor, but important all the same.
Okay. Thank you, councillor. Now, the CEO advised me that we need some assistance here.
Through the presiding member, just in terms of the wording of the recommendation, the intent's clear. To flows from that council proceeds with, we don't need to agree to, just proceeds with. Proceeds with the planning program. 3 would be requests the administration to further revise. Yep.
Wonderful, thank you.
Just a bit tighter, it gives us a specific direction.
Mover happy, seconder happy? Thank you. Okay, now the seconder to speak, councillor Snape. Thank you. Councillor Freeman, councillor Couros, councillor Davis, in that order, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I had a question, but look, I'll just speak to this. My question was about the tree planting dashboard that's currently in development and that will be made live in the next financial year. I was going to ask about the specific date of when that go live might happen, but I think that's okay because in light of this alternative motion, I think the further revision of the plan will probably coincide with the development of this dashboard, which will be public information and will be very clear not only to us but to the public about where those priority planting locations are. So yeah, I think I'm in support of this. I think it's a really important thing to message in the right way. We have a lot of tree loss at the moment, so it's really important for us to continue our commitment to restoring canopy in the City of Adelaide, but understandably people just want to make sure it's in the right spot. So I do think that this alternative does that, and I really look forward to the dashboard.
Councillor Couros.
Can I add an amendment in number 2 where it says proceed with the planting program proposed for financial year 27 and to include Walter Street in that list in North Adelaide?
Are you proposing this as an amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Exactly how would you like to phrase your amendment?
I just said that. I know you were talking and you weren't listening.
But we were solving a different
proceed
issue
the planting
first.
program proceed for financial year 27 and to include Walter Street in North Adelaide and in that program.
3 trees? 3 trees.
Okay, and do we have a seconder for this?
Yes, you can vary it.
Sorry,
Lord Mayor, I think I saw your hand first, but did you say you wanted to make a slight variation?
Well, I just want to make it slightly tidier.
Yeah, sure.
Good. To include the investigation and investment in Water Street, because we'll have to investigate.
We've already done it. We've been waiting for so long. We've already done
Well, I think we just need to know.
All right, sure.
Investigation of investment. I just think we just don't know what we're letting ourselves into. It's not budgeted for. I just want to try and
Sure. It has already been investigated. It's just not on the list. They've been waiting for.
I might ask for
years my
some
time.
assistance from the CEO. I know he just mentioned how many trees it were.
Can I add something else to my variation? I particularly...
Lord Mayor, your microphone, thank you.
I'm particularly aggrieved by paragraph 17. The title of this is Public Realm Greening Programme. And if you read paragraph 17, we've got 0.6% increase in canopy cover this year. And it says, it is vital that more trees are planted in parks to assist in reaching a 40% canopy target. That is not what we are asking for. Public realm means streets. This is to allow people to walk to a community centre and the shops. It's allowing people to walk down the streets, and I'm deeply aggrieved by this, and I want to remove the suggestion that the public realm greening programme is designed to put trees in the parkland.
I second that.
We're getting a little bit out of order here, members, so we're going to take that...
There's another programme for the parklands.
Lord Mayor, we're going to take that as you're speaking to the motion. You have seconded, though.
Yes,
Councillor Couros has not yet spoken to her amendment.
Varied, and I think
But before we move on to that,
to
we needed some assistance from the CEO on the wording regarding the investigation, I think.
Is the intent of the mover met by that wording?
It should be included in 27 years. Bring back the report sooner rather than take years to come back.
Purpose of getting it through today, I would agree with it.
It's a bit naughty.
No, what's not? No, it's already been done.
When was
It's already been done.
Well, I think we're having a bit of back chat
I
here.
haven't seen it.
The CEO did ask a
I haven't
direct
seen all of
question.
these anyway.
Is the intent captured by the current wording, Councillor Couros?
I just want it done. Look, to be really honest, I don't know if I'll get support if I vary this, if I don't agree to this. I will agree to it tonight, but I know that the investigation's already been done. We know what investment is required. We know how many trees are required. It's been going on for 8 years, and it was going on before my time here. This is not the first rodeo for Walter Street for trees. Okay, so if for the purpose of tonight, just to get it through, sure,
We might have it by next Tuesday.
maybe.
So if you want to do
Okay.
a report-
So because you've moved it and you do have a seconder, at this point we do have to continue to speak to the amendment. So,
Well, I was
any
deleting
speakers to the
paragraph
amendment?
17.
We've had, speaking from out of order, we've had the seconder, we've had the mover.
Chair, sorry.
Just before we move on, yes.
To remove that paragraph from the reporting for the focus, as Lord Mayor has said, to be on the public realm greening program. Can the CEO give us advice on how we can delete that?
Through the presiding member, Arm 3 of the resolution requests a further revision of the content of the plan. I'm more than happy to give an undertaking about the concern about the wording of trees and parklands.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's satisfactory, thank you. Councillor Freeman speaking to the amendment.
I can speak to the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I don't support this amendment because I think we all have our own lists of streets, including Grey Street in the West End, Hobson's Place is another one I've been approached about. They equally are very high on the list of the residents that live there, unlike Walter Street, they haven't been investigated. So I would say they need to be done first because we haven't even looked at where the trees are going to go. So I really understand what you're saying, Councillor Couros. I just think we can't call out one street and not others. I read Councillor Stephen-Tritt's alternative as in Q1 of the next financial year, we will look at all of these streets together. So again, I'm not picking on North Adelaide again, but I can't support one without an inclusion of other streets that I know are equally important.
Thank you, Councillor Freeman. Deputy Lord Mayor.
I was just going to say exactly that. So I just concur with Councillor Freeman's sentiments.
Councillor Couros, wish to sum up on your amendment, please.
I do. I actually will think that the Walter Street people will be very disappointed. This has been investigated. This has, we do know what investment is required. They have been waiting for a very long time. The work is already there, done. The scope of where the trees are going to be positioned has already been done. They have been put on the back burner way more than anyone else in regards to this. Where you might say they are needed on other streets, I'm not denying that, but these people have been waiting in line for a very long time. That is a very high residential street. There are a lot of people that live on this street. It's a thoroughfare, connects from 10th Street to Ward Street. There are a lot of pedestrians on this street. So if we are concerned about the safety and the climate resistance of people not getting hot and being under a tree and having comfort and combating the climate crisis, then you would support it. But if this is about because my area is better than your area and you don't deserve it, well then that's unfair.
Thank you. Now, we'll take a vote on the amendment. Are you putting your hand up to vote? I will only take a question at this point. No? All those in favour of this amendment? And those against? That is carried. Thank you, members. That becomes part of the substantial.
I have a question.
Now, before we go to your question, Councillor Davis, just the mover and seconder of the substantive motion, at point 3, plantable should be planting. Are you acceptable of that slight variation?
No, plantable is actually the way that it's referred to in urban forest strategies.
Okay. Councillor Davis, your question.
So just to get that right, so it'll be 105 trees for the 27
a year at a cost of $2 million, so approximate value of about 20 grand per tree.
Mr. Gooch?
Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, and then each of these, like, do we have plans and maps for where these trees will go on each of these specific trees, on each of these specific streets?
We either do or we will be working to develop those plans over the coming months.
Okay, if I email you, would you send me what has been completed and what hasn't?
Through the presiding member, I've already given an undertaking regarding the Carrington Street plantings. I think inferred with that undertaking is a commitment to provide a regular update on once the planting plans are completed prior to implementation. So we'll build in a routine of regular reporting as the plans come available.
Okay.
Thank you, CEO. Do we have any further comment on the motion as is? Yes, Lord Mayor?
Can I just point out that at 0.6%
Actually, Lord Mayor,
a
you
year...
have already spoken, so I can only take a question.
0.6% a year.
I think we're ready to go. So, Councillor Stephen-Tripp, do you wish to sum up?
It's getting late, Chair. I'm summed up.
All those in favour of the motion as printed on your screen at the moment? Thank you, members. That is carried unanimously. We'll move on to the next item, which is a lease variation for Tennis SA. Moved by Councillor Snape, seconded by Councillor Abraham today. Councillor Snape, your comment, summed up. Well, hang on, you're getting ahead of yourself there. Councillor Abraham said no comment. Any further comment on this item? Councillor Snape. All those in favour as printed? Thank you, members. That is carried unanimously. And that brings us to the end of the meeting. There will be no further agenda items. I'll call the meeting to a close at 8:55 p.m. Enjoy your evenings. Thank you.